You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick with CBT News. As we continue to see shifts from consumers as well as OEMs this year, understanding the perspectives and strategies of state associations is more important than ever. Joining us now to give her insight on not only dealers, but truckers, we'll get into that in a minute, is Christine Vinatieri-Erickson, who is the president of the South Dakota Auto Dealers Association. She is also, because she has extra time, the president of the South Dakota Trucking Association. This young lady is extremely busy, so thank you so much, Christine, for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on CBT News once again.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. It's always great to be here.
Sure. It still blows me away that you're over two associations, because I know how busy that, they must, each one must be and demanding. So kudos to you for taking that on. So, can you give us an update on the dealer association since the last time we spoke? Any news, any updates, any big wins?
So we're in the thick of our legislative session right now. We looked at bringing a catalytic converter bill to really give law enforcement a tool to strengthen the laws that we currently have in place. We did have a catalytic converter bill a couple years ago that essentially just said, if you're going to trade those in, you have to you have to get a check back versus cash. And so if somebody's coming in and trading in a catalytic converter, they have to put their name on that dotted line. Now, do we know that we're making a real impact? Not yet. They could be going to our neighboring states and trading those in. But it's a start, and it's a start for us to work with our neighbors as well to strengthen those thefts that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me that the neighboring, the neighboring states would want to adopt something just like this, right? Helps everybody.
Yeah, we've been trying on a national front to have some sort of regulation in place because this is a major problem for our dealerships. Most of the dealerships are not open on Sundays. They're investing in new lighting. They're investing in some extra security to really protect their investment that they have within their dealershiip.
Isn't this crazy? Isn't it the fact that we're talking about catalytic converter? It used to be they pulled out radios, wheels off of vehicles or what have you. But this is kind of crazy, right? But I guess
it is.
Yeah.
And I remember back in my day when I was in high school, we had those tape decks that you took off of, and you'd put it in your backpack before you went to school or college. So times certainly changed, and we just need to make sure that we're protecting those investments that the dealerships have.
See, that's why they never should have taken out, when I was back in school, the 8-track players. Now that was a good technology.
You're not dating yourself.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So are you seeing some of those same things on the trucking side as well?
The trucking industry is really different. It's different, it's the same, right? We all have wheels. So we are really focused on the federal regulations coming out with the zero emissions, which we all know are going to impact car sales and car manufacturing.
Yeah.
We've been really trying to highlight all the changes made over the years and how far the trucking industry has come to being cleaner, safer. Because look, at the end of the day, if you go to the store and your product isn't on the shelf, you're frustrated.
That's right.
And it's the truckers that bring those items. We're also focused heavily both in EV and on the trucking side, as well as automotive. Look, I gave an interview last week at NADA. I know I got to see you there. I got to sit down on a podcast there and also talk on the live stage. And the thing that's really, really critical to think about when we talk about the transition to EVs is that they're heavy. It's more wear and tear on our roadways. And so I'm currently working with our state right now talking about vehicle miles traveled. What does it look like? And what is that transition? Because they're not paying a gas tax. How are we supposed to repair our roads and bridges?
Sure.
So we're starting that process here in South Dakota, as well as, oh, by the way, how do dealerships get their cars? Trucks, right? The semi delivering those trucks. So if an EV semi is delivering EVs, and maybe they could have 8 cars before. Now, when you add all that weight from the EV and the cars, there's weight restrictions on a state by state. They're not going to be able to take 8. Maybe now it's only 2 or 3. Who pays in the end?
Wow.
The consumer. The consumer is the one that pays in the end. And so look, unless you're delivering feathers and pillows, EVs are a really, really difficult space for semis and truck haulers.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's a very good point, and didn't really think about that before. But because you're on both sides there, these are the issues that you're aware of, right? So that is important. Talk to me a little bit about the EV situation. What's the sentiment among your dealers and your members there? Is it much like the rest of the country that they're saying, hey, slow down, not so fast?
Yeah, not so fast. Well, and truly in South Dakota, we're one of the lowest adopters. I think of all of our sales right now, we're at 0.2% of
Wow.
EV in that space. However, if the consumer wants it, my dealerships are all ready to sell and service and be a good franchise dealer if the consumer wants it. The problem that we're having in South Dakota is we're cold, right? My kids just had 2 days off of school a couple weeks ago. It was -40 with the wind chill. EVs just aren't able to be as sustainable in a place like South Dakota.
Yeah.
But again, if people want them, we are more than happy to sell them. We also lack a little bit in the infrastructure as well.
Okay.
We don't have a true infrastructure yet. I know we are looking, and I've served on some task force to say, hey, where does it make the most sense to have these? And again, it's consumer driven, not government driven, consumer driven. And I think that's really the critical point and the mistakes that have been made over the last maybe administration.
You know, it's issues like this that really emphasize the importance and the need for state associations to represent dealers. Many dealers, as you know, don't want to go against any specific OEMs for obvious reasons. They need to have that relationship be protected so that the OEM doesn't hold it against that particular dealer if they speak out against them. But state associations are able to do that. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of having state associations and really for dealers that are listening to be involved in them, right? That's what you need as the head of the association, right?
Absolutely. It's absolutely critical for those dealerships to be members of our association. Look, there's 50 state associations as well as some metros on top of that. I believe there's 95 executives across the United States. And we are stronger together. Look, we band together. We are a family. We travel quite a bit. And so we are a family. I know anytime I can pick up the phone and call Jason Wilson in Kentucky or Ted Smith in Florida or Don Hall in Virginia, we can make those calls and know, hey, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What is the solution that I could look at? And for those reasons, we're that much stronger. It's just not me on an island out here in South Dakota or, in the Badlands, God's country. But we're simply working together to strengthen the franchise model as a whole. And it's absolutely critical for dealerships to be members as well as be a part of the advocacy. I was former state official elected in the state house and served on the city council. And so having that hat of being elected and now being a lobbyist and an advocate really plays well in my state. So I can say, hey, dealerships, I need you to reach out to this person in your community. I come in, we meet, and we can really move the needle when we work together like that. Yeah,
no question about it. For dealers that are listening, if you're not involved, first of all, you need to be a member of the state association, which hopefully you are if in your state. If you're not, become one. But in addition to that, rather than just sending the check in, be involved. You have a lot more muscle than you realize, in your particular area with your congressmen, your senators, your state senators, what have you. And I think all too often dealers, and I'm going to get some hate mail on this, but dealers don't get involved enough in these issues. They go, oh, well, the state association is going to handle it, but they can't do it alone. They need your support, not just financial, which is great, but they need for you to pick up the phone, for you to have those visits of those legislators and such to your dealership, because it's very powerful. It goes a long way, doesn't it?
It is. It's absolutely critical. And, I've only been in my role for a little over 2.5 years now, and we're seeing some great headway just with, like I said, banding together with some of the other states and getting some of our members that haven't been involved in our association as often to say, hey, I know you know this representative. Let's do a tour of your dealership. Let's tell your story. to those elected officials so they can see it with their own eyes and understand the investment and the challenges that our dealerships are faced with today.
Right, right. Yeah, there's no question about it. You guys are fighting the good fight for dealers just all the time, and it's worth so much to them. So, Christine,
and thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you for getting the message out as well. You know, it's organizations like yours that help us get our message out as well. And so thanks for having me on, and thanks for having other state executives on as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for those kind words. We try. So, Christine Vinatieri-Erickson, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And I'd love to have you back to talk to us again about some of the things that are pressing among dealers out there.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.